the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the biggest WTF moment of all time. Last night's WWE Survivor Series 2016 overall was one of the most disappointing shows I've ever seen that was saved by one of the most shocking endings I have ever seen. Hello everyone, and welcome to Pittman's Pit. I am Jonathon, the Hot Wheels Pittman, your host, here to review WWE Survivor Series 2016. As I said before, honestly, the show, overall, it sucked. It was a night of disappointing finishes, lackluster matches, odd combinations, and just a lot of questionable booking overall in the show. But it was saved by the one thing everybody will be talking about tomorrow. So overall, because of how much this one event, this one match, if you could call it that, has everyone in the wrestling world talking and buzzing. As unentertaining as it was as a whole, I have to call Survivor Series a success. I'm sorry, I have to call it a success. Because at the end of the day, any business wants people talking about their product. That's what we do things for. To get publicity, to get exposure. And overall, Survivor Series did that. They got the exposure. So, overall, even if it wasn't the greatest show, it did what it needed to do. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of people, myself included, who will be just clamoring to Monday Night Raw tonight to try and figure out what the hell is WWE gonna do from here, considering what they finished off tonight with. So, let's run down the card. You started off with the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. You had Sasha Banks, Alicia Fox, Bayley, Charlotte, and Nia Jax on Team Raw, and you had on Team SmackDown, it was supposed to be Nikki Bella teaming with Naomi, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and the women's champion for SmackDown, Becky Lynch. But before the match started, when they were doing their entrances, it cut to the back, and it showed that Nikki Bella, somebody had attacked her backstage, and she couldn't compete. The doctors wouldn't clear her to compete. So Natalya, who conveniently just happened to be there, she got sent in, and she ended up being the 5th member of Team SmackDown instead of Nikki Bella. Which I find it ironic, and I think everybody knows it was probably Natalya that attacked her. So we'll see where that one goes. But overall, this match was decent. Not great, not terrible, not even bad. It was decent. You had Nia Jax look like a beast. She pretty much threw around everybody on Team Raw. She got her hands on everyone and just mowed through them all. You had Natalya looking pretty good, getting a really good reaction because it was in Toronto, Canada. She's from Calgary, so of course she's gonna get a big reaction. So it was nice to see her get a pretty good reaction. You had Naomi do this really sweet dive to the outside. The only thing that I can think of that I really didn't like, and I'm okay with the fact that Sasha Banks ended up not being one of the sole survivors. As much of a fan of Sasha as I am, honestly, I'm okay with it because I can see that they're trying to build something from it. They're trying to build Bayley versus Charlotte. So, and if that's where they want to go, I'm a huge fan of Bailey too. So, I'm okay with that. I can live with it. So, ultimately, the only thing that I didn't like wasn't so much that she got eliminated, it was the way that it happened. Like, she's going for a move, going for the bank statement, gets pulled off, gets in a roll up, 1, 2, 3, and then she's out. Like, that just seems kind of cheap and kind of random. But other than that, there wasn't really anything really to complain about in this match. That really was the only thing that I could say was questionable. That and the fact Nia Jax tapped out. I think they should have had her lose by pinfall if they were going to have her not survive at all. If they were going to have her get eliminated at all, it should have been by pinfall, not by a submission. But I think the thing that saves that is that it was by the SmackDown Women's Champion. So, at least if you're saying that it was one of the SmackDown girls that did it, at least, it was their supposed best of the best, their champion. So, that's the thing that saves that. So I didn't really even mind that. Ultimately, it comes down to Becky Lynch versus Charlotte and Bayley. And at one point, Becky Lynch is trying to lock in the disarmer. She's wrenching at Bayley's wrist, trying to pull her off the rope. But as soon as she gets Bayley off the rope, freaking Bayley wraps her arms around Becky's waist, pulls her up, slams her down, Bayley to belly, 1, 2, 3, and she gets the pinfall. After the match, Charlotte attacks Bayley, and she beats her up and beats her up, and she takes her out. So, I thought that was a good way to end it. I think the right person won, and I think that the right outcome after the match happened, because now you can start building to Bayley versus Charlotte. Now you can start building that feud up, and eventually have her take the Women's Championship from Charlotte, and hopefully, eventually, defeat her on pay-per-view and snap that pay-per-view undefeated streak that Charlotte's been having going for a couple of months. So, looking forward to where that goes. And so far, I actually had high hopes, because Toronto, Canada was a good crowd. Takeover was a great, was a great show last night. Well, the night before this show. So, I had some high hopes going into it, and this match was starting to, encourage me that my hopes were going to be delivered, and that I was going to be overall pleased with the way this show ended. Then, we got to the next match. The Intercontinental Championship. The Miz taking on Sami Zayn. First off, I thought it was way too damn short. Second, I thought that just when it seemed like these guys were just getting going, they were just barely starting to get going here, I thought they cut it off too soon, and in the most random, weird way possible. So Sammy's starting to do his signature moves, his exploder into the corner, he sets up a haluva kick, but gets locked into a figure four. He gets the blue thunder bomb. Miz kicks out of that, and right when it looks like Sami Zayn actually has a figure four on the Miz, it looks like the Miz might tap out. Maurice actually goes to the bell, goes to the timekeeper's area, and actually rings the bell. This throws everyone off, because the ref goes over and he's like, hey, I didn't make any call. I didn't call for the bell here. So what the heck's going on? After that, Miz gets a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. The Miz retains. I thought this was a good match, and it really had some good momentum going. It it seemed like just when they were starting to really take it into the next level, they just called it off. And it seemed like this questionable booking of like how they had him win just threw the Miz off. I mean, eventually, like I get it, he's the bad guy, so they're trying to make him this guy that, okay, his wife keeps saving him, and the Spirit Squad keeps saving him. So they're trying to make him this guy that, like, he needs to cheat and needs to come up with these little loopholes to freaking get out of the matches with his championship still his. But eventually you're gonna have to get him to win a fair fight. You're gonna have to get him to actually win a fair match. And they just haven't been doing a lot of that lately, so they need to start getting back to that. They need to start having bad guys that can win more matches clean without being freaking 7 foot tall. So, hopefully they'll start doing that again. Hopefully they'll start giving The Miz that sort of treatment, that occasionally he can win a match just fair against someone that matters. But, overall this match wasn't that bad. I just wish that the match would have ended with a better, more decisive, more satisfying ending than what we had here. After this match, we had the 5-on-5 of the tag team divisions. You had the New Day, you had the Club, you had Enzo and Cass, you had Cesaro and Sheamus, and you had the Shining Stars. Going against the Hype Bros, Slater and Rhino, the Usos, American Alpha, and Team Breezango. This was not that good, I'll be honest with you. It was just one giant spot fest. There was one really cool spot where Chad Gable did this epic dive. All the other teams were outside the ring, and Gable just runs from the ring over the ropes and freaking dives out and just takes out everybody. I thought that was a really cool spot. But I found it weird how, A, the New Day got eliminated really fast. It was freaking weird. Like, they're supposed to be your top champions. Like, make no mistake about it. Everybody can say that SmackDown is the more entertaining show. But make no mistake about it. Raw's still the flagship. So whoever the tag team champions are on that show, they're supposed to be the top team in WWE. Even if there are tag team championships on SmackDown, the ones on Raw are the ones that really are supposed to matter. Make no mistake about that. But let's just say this. I was really surprised though. Miz versus Zayn ends up thinking up the joint because of that finish. And this is how they freaking capitalize on trying to make things better. A freaking dive, and that's it. Because after that Gable spot, there wasn't really anything else. It came down to the Usos versus Cesaro and Sheamus. And I like Cesaro. And I'm kind of liking Sheamus for this full of himself, thinks he's the man kind of character that he is. Like, he thinks that he's the best thing going ever. So I kind of like that one. But I just thought it was weird that ultimately Team Raw wins this match, and the team that basically is just thrown together and can't even cooperate beats this team of legitimate twin brothers who know each other by the back of their hands, and freaking they've been working together for years. And these random guys that were just thrown together, they just happened to beat them. So I thought that was weird. And of course they did a sharpshooter spot with Cesaro getting one of the Usos in a sharpshooter. So of course the crowd's gonna cheer that. But overall, I just thought the match was disappointing. There weren't that many moments that really stood out to me that really, made me say, oh my god, this is a great match worth paying attention to. So, I was disappointed so far, with one match delivering kinda good, and then two just flying way under my expectations. I was starting to become a little worried, I'll be honest. So, after the tag division match, you had the Brian Kendrick versus Kalisto. By far the worst match of the night. Now, you had some good spots with the Brian Kendrick using the ropes and using the stairs and using his environment to beat up Kalisto. All the while Kalisto, does his best as that underdog with so much heart in him that he's just never gonna quit. So he does his best to keep fighting back and fighting back and fighting back. And I was starting to like the story that they did. But then they had this one spot that I absolutely loved, and I started really opening my eyes and paying attention to this match. So, Kalisto was on the top rope. He was going to do his Salida del Sol finisher off the top rope, but Brian Kendrick reverses it, and he drives Kalisto's face right into the mat, locks in the captain's hook, which I still hate that name, but it was still a good move. So, he locks in the captain's hook after slamming freaking Kalisto's head right off the top rope into the mat, and just wrenching and wrenching and wrenching, but Kalisto barely manages to get to the ropes. Then, right when it looks like Kalisto's gonna get the upper hand back, right when it looks like he might actually win the title, Baron Corbin comes out. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? You knew, WWE, that the Cruiserweights just weren't working on SmackDown, on Raw. They just weren't working on Raw. It just wasn't paying off. And yet you keep them there stubbornly. You freaking just keep the status quo, and in the worst way possible, with a disqualification finish. And from there, this was the point that I just gave up on the show being good. Like, I knew there was no way that this show was ever gonna get saved. It was just disappointing, to be honest with you. But, next match, after this finish that was so disappointing, was the 5-on-5 for the men's division, with your main event guys on Raw and SmackDown going head to head. It was Kevin Owens versus Kevin Owens teaming with Chris Jericho, teaming with Roman Reigns, teaming with Seth Rollins, teaming with Braun Strowman for Team Raw. And they were taking on the team of Shane McMahon, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt. And James Ellsworth was on SmackDown as their mascot. I thought this was a really good match. This was the one epic, great match that you could really sink your teeth into for the whole show. This was the one epic contest that Survivor Series 2016 had to its name. This was the one big match. I mean, it had tons of moments in it. It had absolutely everything you could think of. Shane McMahon looked like a badass in this damn match. He got off heads on damn near everybody, except Strowman, who pretty much got offense on him. You had this epic move where at one point in the match, the Shield got a reunion. You managed to tease a breakup of Team SmackDown with freaking Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles not being able to get on the same page and screwing each other over and causing each other to be eliminated. You had the Wyatts looking really intense. You had Seth Rollins taking this nasty freaking bump where he got an RKO out of mid-air. And you had this one really scary moment that legitimately I was really terrified for it. Like, Shane McMahon, he's in the ring with Roman Reigns, and he's setting up to do his coast-to-coast, corner-to-corner drop kick, where he gets on the top rope of one corner, his opponent is sat down with his head against the bottom turnbuckle of the other corner, and he does like this jumping drop kick into his opponent's head. He was setting up to do that. Reigns gets up, spears freaking Shane out of his boots out of mid-air, and you could literally see Shane's head just snap back. And at one point, the ref counted 1, 2, and I couldn't tell if Shane kicked out or if the ref just saw the guy's face, because Shane's face, like, his eyes were bugged out. At first glance, like, I'm not even exaggerating or making a joke or anything like that. I legitimately thought Shane got killed. I legitimately thought that he died. Because he wasn't moving, his eyes were bugged out, his body was twitching, and that's all that was happening. So, hopefully he'll be okay. I haven't seen anything, telling one way or the other yet. So hopefully he'll be okay. The fact that we haven't seen any reports on it, well, at least it wasn't what I thought. But he definitely could be concussed by now. So, hopefully Shane will get better. But, man, that was one scary moment to see. So, they ended up just saying, Shane McMahon's been eliminated, and the crowd booed heavily. Granted, they were booing Reigns to begin with, but they started really booing him now because they saw him hurt Shane McMahon. Granted, it wasn't intentional. It's professional wrestling. These accidents are gonna happen. It's unfortunate, it's scary, it's not good, but these things they're going to happen sometimes. But it ends up coming down to, just like the rivalry a couple of years ago, the Wyatts versus the Shield. On Team Raw, we have Rollins and Reigns left. And on Team SmackDown, we have the new Wyatt family, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. This was awesome. Oh, and also, just so I can say that I mentioned it, you need to mention the fact of how Braun Strowman got eliminated. James Ellsworth with this freaking hilarious moment that was actually kind of impressive to see him do that and agree to that. So, Strowman, he got elbow dropped by Shane McMahon before Shane got eliminated by that scary moment. So he got elbow dropped through a table by Shane, and he just was gonna crawl back into the ring, but James Ellsworth was hiding under the ropes, under the apron, and just grabbed him by the ankle so that Braun couldn't get back in the ring. It was absolutely hilarious. And then when he realizes he got eliminated, Strowman just looks at freaking Ellsworth and he's like, I'm gonna kill you. Yep. There's no two ways about it. You're going to die right now. Ellsworth freaking bolts. He takes off like a bat out of hell. He freaking is just like, I don't want no part of this. I'm out of here. Strowman runs after him, boots him, and then just freaking does this epic monster spot. Like, the things this man is capable of. I'm starting to really become a Braun Strowman fan. He just picks up Ellsworth, who granted isn't that heavy anyways. He probably weighs maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. But either way, he picks Ellsworth up, launches him off the stage, through a table, and then just walks off. And Ellsworth's just knocked out. He's done. And I'm just like, okay, that was cool. Let's see what else is gonna happen. Then later, of course, we get that spot, the spear spot with Shane McMahon. And I started getting worried about, okay, it proved a distraction. And of course it would. Because you just saw a guy, seriously get hurt. So of course it's gonna be a bit of distraction. But it comes down to the Shield and the Wyatts. Rollins and Reigns versus Orton and Wyatt. And then it comes out to this epic spot. That was where the RKO came into play, where Seth Rollins jumped off the top rope. I think he was looking for a frog splash, but Orton caught him into an RKO. 1, 2, 3, eliminates Seth Rollins. And at this point, I'm just looking at it like, oh boy. The crowd's already booing because I think they expected the same thing I did, which is Reigns to just, Superman up and eliminate both of them by himself, even though nobody really likes him anymore. So the crowd was gonna boo that if it happened. Nope, it didn't happen. He went for the spear on Bray Wyatt, but you had Randy Orton get in the way and basically make himself the sacrificial lamb. He sacrificed himself for Bray Wyatt to grab Roman Reigns into the Sister Abigail for the 1, the 2, the 3. And Team SmackDown, the Wyatts, win the Survivor Series match. So, I thought that was cool. I thought it was a little weird how you had Raw win, the first 2 Survivor Series matches, just to have SmackDown win this one. I thought overall, given the fact that the only ones that really won were The Miz and, well, I guess Kalisto by disqualification. But everyone else, Raw was made to look superior. But I guess that's just the way things are. Raw is always going to be treated as superior. They're always going to be the A show, even if the fans start liking SmackDown better. Even if the fans are more entertained by SmackDown. Raw's always going to be treated like they're the better show. And anytime they go head to head, WWE is going to hammer it in, and they're going to punish the fans for liking SmackDown better by making their SmackDown guys look like punks. It's just the way things are going to be. And then we get to, oh my god, the main event. By now, I'm like, ugh, let's just get this over with, bye. Seriously, let's just get it over. I just wanted to go to sleep at this point. And thank God WWE didn't keep me up much longer after that. You had Goldberg versus Brock. I think their entrances were longer than the actual match. You had the fans chanting Goldberg. They were into it. And it had this big fight feel heading into the match. It really did have a big fight feel to it. It just didn't end up being, that big a fight. I mean, when it came down to it, I think there might have been, let's see, and 2 of those, 1 of those, 4 moves. 4 freaking moves. And one of them was a shove, so is it really a move? Oh, and Brock did like this one little thing where he like picked up Goldberg and then put him in the corner, but then after that, like he literally just carried him to the corner and that was it. He didn't have any offense at all. It was just shove, spear, jackhammer, done. I'm literally looking at this like, what the hell did I just see? I'm literally just looking at it like, what? Like, that was literally my expression. And I still don't know fully how I feel about it. But I'll give WWE this credit. At least, at least, they did something that's got people talking. Because now, as I go on the wrestling pages, as I go on YouTube channels like mine that talk about wrestling, that evidently have a lot more subscribers than me, but I'll digress. You know, as I go to these wrestling channels, as I go to these pages on Facebook and other sites, everybody is talking about one thing. They're not talking about any of the boring matches before it. They're talking about the fact that in a minute and 25 seconds, Goldberg destroyed Brock Lesnar. Let me repeat that. In 4 moves, in a minute and 25 seconds, Brock Lesnar got beat by Goldberg. He got squashed. And I still don't know what to think. I think my brain is still having a hard time, accepting and understanding that this happened, that this is the real life, that this just isn't something my brain has made up, that it's something that actually happened. I'll tell you one thing, I don't know where they're going with this, but I'm damn ready to find out. And that is why I think, overall, you have to call Survivor Series a success. Yes, you can point to the plethora of booking decisions that were questionable and outright bad. You can look at all the lackluster matches leading up to the final one. You can look to the lack of really big moments, except for the second to last match had some good moments. But other than that, there weren't really a lot of, oh my god, I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow kind of moments. Except for the last match. And the one before it had some good ones. But the fact is, sometimes there are these shows, and it's true for pay-per-views, it's true for Monday Night Raw episodes, it's true for SmackDown episodes. Sometimes you see a show, and it could be the most lackluster, boring show you've ever watched, but it'll consider itself a success if it can give you that one moment, just one, that makes you say, oh my god, what happened there? I gotta find out what's gonna happen next week or next episode. And overall, Survivor Series did that. Overall, it was a disappointing show, but let's face it, we don't care about that. We care about the fact that this guy that decimated John Cena, that brutalized Randy Orton, that broke The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, gets blasted, gets beaten, gets victimized, gets decimated, there's no other word to say it, conquered by Goldberg. I still can't believe it even happened. What would I do from here? I have no idea. But this is the type of moment that makes me happy that I'm a wrestling fan. Even with an overall, there's no other way to put it, crappy show. This show had me begging for the end. Like, I just wanted to get to the point where I could turn it off. Until I saw Goldberg demolish and destroy Brock Lesnar. Then, I wasn't thinking about the questionable booking of the tag team matches. I wasn't thinking about the fact that the cruiserweights are stuck on Raw where they aren't working. I wasn't thinking about the fact that The Miz and Sami Zayn, rather than this clinic that they could have put on, got only enough time and the right finish to make maybe an okay match. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was thinking, oh my god, I just saw Lesnar get pretty much bitch slapped. And I'm sorry, there is no other way to put it. This dude got beat down. So, overall, I give this show a C, I'd say, because everything else sucked. But this one moment has me talking enough and has me wanting more enough that I can say it was passable. It's not something that I would say, okay, watch this show again just to see that one match. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Go to the WWE Network, look up that one match, that 1 minute and 25-second match, and just watch that. Don't bother with any of the 5-on-5s. Don't bother with the Cruiserweight match. Don't bother with the Intercontinental Championship match. Don't bother with any of that. Just go watch Goldberg demolish Brock Lesnar, that one match on the WWE Network, and that's really all you need to concern yourself with. But it reminds me of other shows that I've watched. Like the night that Brock Lesnar broke the ring with Big Show on SmackDown. How many people remember what other matches happened on that show? Or the night that CM Punk did his pipe bomb promo on Raw. The rest of those matches weren't that good, were they? Or the night also on Raw when the Nexus debuted. That match, that show was freaking atrocious. That show was freaking garbage. But people remember these shows for that one moment, for that one thing that happened that night. And Survivor Series 2016 is one of those instances. Buckle up, people. I got a feeling we're in for something, but I don't know what. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jonathon, the Hot Wheels Pittman. This has been Pittman's Pit. And what the hell did we just see?